Thanks for tuning in to Proline TV for another week of golf coverage as we enter event number 3 for the 2026 season, the 2026 calendar year to be precise, and for this report that we do each week right here on Proline TV. All right, so let's get right to it, and we are going to do what we do every week. We're going to get you ready for the week by taking a look at the latest odds on the key players that we believe are going to be the ones to watch. We got the main group, we have the top contenders, and we have the long shots. We're going to go over the trends, the ones that we think are definitely going to be in play that you want to keep an eye on this week, as well as rankings, obviously our picks. We get into fantasy, one and done. And let's start first of all by taking a look at the venue. So this is going to be really, this is in my mind when the season really begins. It doesn't begin in the fall. It doesn't begin in Hawaii. It begins right here with the California swing. And the reason being because now we start to get, for the very first time, some really tough golf courses. Especially if there's conditions out there that could be a little tough. This golf course has a lot to offer, and I think it's one of the best golf courses in the country. You're not going to have a runaway winner more than likely due to low scoring. If you do have a runaway winner, it's going to be something like Patrick Reed. What did he have? He had like a 5-stroke win not too long ago. And what was his score? He was at minus 14 under par. So that's I think that's the type of runaway that you get here whenever you do get a runaway. What we're going to talk about here today too, and this is something we try to talk about as much as possible, and that's value. Value is something that is extremely important in the world of handicapping, and sometimes I overlook it in my speech, but I try not to. And I think this week is a great time to talk about it because I think looking at the odds for a lot of these players, a lot of these contenders, very, very different than what we've seen so far. And I think it's because of the depth of the field. Again, it's the best field so far that we've seen. And I think that that is the goal that we try to aim for on a weekly basis, because it's all about averages, and that's where the value comes in. Because if you stick with those averages over the course of a long season, and you're constantly just value, averages, value, more often than not, it's going to come in your favor. Now, you might wind up in it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and all of a sudden, and you're looking back and you're going, this isn't what's going on here. But you stick with your plan. Whatever that plan is, whatever plan you have, if you're confident in your plan and you have seen success before in your plan, stick with it. You could always adjust to the plan that you have, depending on exactly how you want to go down that route, handicapping wise, or of course for fantasy. I adjust, and I've been adjusting to it for 30 years. But those are tweaks. For the most part, if you really are excited, interested, and feel that you have a very confident handicapping tool or approach, go ahead and stick with it. And again, that's where value and averages come into play. So this particular golf course, there are 2 of them. We see the south and the north. The south is the main course. The north you're only going to see once. So it's going to be, as you can see there, a 36-hole cut. So those first 2 days, Thursday and Friday, will be divided between the south and the north course. Then we get into the weekend, and it is all south course. And you can see there on the bottom, these are 2 of the toughest. So it's not like last week when you had the stadium course, which was an average course, an average golf course on tour, a good average course. But those other 2 courses, the Nicholas and La Quinta courses, were incredibly easy, and 2 of the easiest golf courses in the country. Not the case. And that also is interesting when you're thinking about which way, the direction you want to go this week, when you're looking at players that played at the Amex, and now they're going to play here. So they're going from one extreme to another. And that's something that, I've often wondered how they approach it. I also am, I don't know, I'm kind of a little bit surprised that Scotty Scheffler decided to play at the Amex instead of Torrey Pines. Now, I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons why certain players decide to play wherever they play on their schedule. So I have no idea what his normal schedule looks like or why he would have made that decision. It's just that from at the outside, looking at it, you're like, well, why would you play at the easiest golf course maybe on tour? How is that supposed to toughen you up? Why go there when you could play at Torrey Pines? And this is the type of golf course that definitely, not that we don't see surprises, because you do. We've had players that have won here even last year when Harris English won, he was the 75th ranked player in the world. So we do get players that range all over in the rankings. But 19 of the last 30 winners, actually, I think it is 19 of the last 30. Let me double check that. It's in the trends. Let me see. But the point is they have been major winners. Yes, 19 of 30. Okay, so major winners have won 19 of 30 Farmers Insurance. And so again, just keep that in mind when you are looking at these golf courses. Last week to this week, easy, hard. Okay, next up, let's move on to the similar courses, because this is always something that's important. Now, it's a little bit more difficult, just like last week, because we do have the North that comes into it. But if you look at the South, these are the three golf courses that I believe are the ones that matter the most. Punta Cana Championship, the Corrales Golf Club, and you can see Houston. I think there's only 5 events. They even had one that they didn't even play. So it's been 5 events at the Houston Open. So keep that in mind. ISCO as well, the ISCO Championship. The North, the only course I'm going to give any recognition to is the Century. Not a very tough golf course, but that's the one that is the most similar in my mind. And again, from the data that I have seen. So South Course and North Course. Now, let's move on to the trends. And as we do that, I just want to point something else out regarding the similar golf courses. Now, this, because we don't get POA greens very often, and as you saw there initially when we were going over the event here. Okay, so you've got POA greens, all right? And what this is important because this is a rarity on the tour. These aren't the type of greens you see very often. They're also very fast. They're bumpy and fast. So these are not easy greens. All right. So this is a really important week for putting. You have to. It doesn't even matter. Like you might say, well, does that mean you have to be one of the best putters in the world? No. You just have to really understand how to play the greens. Matter of fact, Will Zalatoris is a great example. Will Zalatoris might be one of the, everybody knows that if you look at one of the parts of his game that has held him back, it's been the putter. But on these particular greens, he's been able to keep his game at a level it needs to be where it's not an issue and it doesn't hold him back. So he's actually been okay on these types of greens. So again, it's all about whether or not there's a certain feel to it, because you're talking about a situation on these greens, like I said, where like you might even see it aesthetically on screen. You'll see there's like some patchiness and so forth. And then when the players are playing it, especially as you get later in the day, you're getting and this is important, okay? As you go later in the day, I'm no expert, but this is what they say, is that the greens, because they are fast and they are as fast as any greens on tour, that as you go later in the day, they actually end up being faster. Okay, so, I think it's because of the fact that the greens actually grow faster, which is kind of interesting. Again, I can't tell you exactly. Actually, let me put it this way, because I don't want to confuse you, because this can be a very confusing way of putting it. So let me tell you what, I'm going to show you my notes. That's the best thing to do it. Okay. Let me get my notes up here, because I don't want to confuse the fast greens with the fact that here it is. The fact that these greens end up growing faster as the day goes on. So what'll happen is the day goes on, it grows faster, and when it grows faster, they wind up getting bumpier. Okay, because they're going to then come in after when it's all said and done, and they can trim it, but they can't do that as the day is going on. It's all up. That's it. It grows, and there's nothing they can do about it. So at the end of the day, it becomes more difficult to play the greens. Okay, so but again, normally, and it stays this way day and night, very fast greens. Okay, so that doesn't. So now you've got fast greens day and night, or early and afternoon. And now what makes it more difficult in the afternoon is that because the greens grow faster at this time of year, now the bumpiness comes in. So I don't know if you've been able to read the notes as I was going over that, but this is what I found out basically overall, and it's basic, and that's really what I just kind of outlined here. And this is another one here. This is another stat that's going to be very important, and that is the putting distance between 4 and 8 inches and 9 and 15 inches. Okay. So there's a lot of that going on here statistically over the years, that this is a statistic that is very important. And because of the amount of putts that will be going on at this distance, at this event this week, you're going to be dealing with a situation where you better be good at those types of putts. And I think one of the stats that is important to look at, and again, remember, this is overall stats. When you're looking at stats, you're going to have to really dive deep in and go in and say, okay, I want to take a look at fast greens. I'm going to take a look at POA and a variety of other things. Again, the exact length of the putts, if you can get that. That's going to be kind of hard, but sometimes you can get it in a ballpark. So let's say you were able to get it down to this, like let's say you were needing a particular number to go with. This would be the number that I would tell you to go with. Go 4 to 8 inches, 9 to 15 inches, somewhere in there. I think that's a sweet spot. And then just take a look at golfers who are good with short putting. Do they clean up really well? Do they clean up within 5 feet from the pin, whatever the case may be? And again, we're talking inches as well. And because you're going to see, and I don't know if it's on here. Here it is. More short putts are missed on POA greens than any other type of grass. Okay. So that's just some of the notes on POA greens. And again, it's why when you're taking a look at this week, I think it's very important to take a look at tee times. All right. So you want to be taking a look. And I know Jan Stevenson, major champions, been on with us over the years. This is something she's talked a lot about at specific golf courses. And I think this is one of those weeks that you want to be taking a look and favoring players that are going to start late first round, early second round. Now, it's not as volatile as far as the difference between who goes out early and who goes out late. And that's because you got 2 golf courses on Thursday and Friday, when this would have really been more of a factor. Like, for instance, if there was one golf course and they go out at 6 a.m. Till 9 a.m, and then that group goes out the late tee times on Friday, and let's say they're out there at 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. That group there would have been a lot more of an issue. So it's not as big because they start at about 12 local time, and the last tee times go, I think it's 12 local time. No, I think it's it might be Eastern time. Because I remember when we checked out, I think it was Eastern time. Bottom line is you got only a 3-hour difference, if that, from the golfers who tee off first to the last golfer that tees off for the day. So that's not a really big difference, but I still think it's important. So take a look when you're looking at your golfers this week. I would favor, okay, it's not 100%. Nothing is 100%, as you all know, in handicapping golf and all these tools that we use. and again, this is my formula, but you know that everything is not 100%. You have to be able to react, but use this and definitely say, okay, this is, if I'm like 50-50 with two players and I have to decide which one to pick, and one of them is going to be going out late on Friday and the other one early on Friday, I'd go out with the one early on Friday. So now another thing, as we were going over the similar courses, which I can pop that back on. Here they are. All right. So normally this is it. These are the similar courses. There's a reason for it. That's what the stats say. The research says that's it. We move on. But because of the greens, and I think there's only 4 other golf courses. Yeah, 4 other golf courses. Let me see if I could pop that up here. Let's see. Okay, here it is. So these are from my notes, obviously. So these are the golf courses, the only ones where POA are available on the PGA Tour. Okay. So here we go, Farmers Insurance. So there's only 4 others. The Fortinet, which is right now Procore Championship, used to be Safeway, Fries.com, Pebble, Genesis, Travelers. And as you can see, 4 of them on the West Coast, because as you probably saw before when you were reading my information, these greens predominantly are grown out west. Okay, so why do we bring that up? Very important. There's only 5 golf courses on tour that have POA greens. Therefore, we want to find out which golfers have performed well at these specific golf courses too. So I'm throwing this right in there with the similar courses. All right, that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing similar. Now I'm like adding another page. I've got my normal page of similar courses. Now I'm going to do a similar courses for greens, because we know how important that is. And so it's just more and more information. The more information we get, the better. All right. So I just want to throw that in there. Next, let's see. Back to the trends. Okay. So the trends, very important this week. All right. I told you how major winners have won 19 out of the last 30. All right. So here you go. Now, this is real important, I think. Experience matters here, and it should. It's a very tough golf course. Plus, you're dealing with 2 courses and a tough field. So as you can see here, the last 16 winners averaging over 6 appearances before winning. And only 3 of the last 16 made less than 5 appearances. I think one of them was 3 appearances, and 2 of them, they won on their first try. And that's right here. Pavon and John Rahm. Those are the only 2 players who win on their first appearance since 1957. They aren't doing that. 1957. And not too much further down there, you can see that Pavon, Rahm, and Luke List, not only did they win here on their first appearance, but they won here and they had never won a PGA Tour event before. Okay, so it's 3 of the last 9 winners here, first-time PGA Tour winners, but more importantly, 2 of the last 4. All right, so that's where you got to just think a little bit, and what that does to me is it says, okay, if I like someone that's never won on the PGA Tour before, I'm not going to let it stop me from picking them. That's all it is. Next up, let's move on to the next trends. Trends number 2. Okay. And in this one, you do see, I think, again, not only is it important to play here, but to have some sort of positive experience. That's why I thought this was important. A couple top 20s. And I think if you look at it too, 11 of the last 14 winners had at least 1 top 10 prior to winning. Harris English, who won last year, actually was runner-up all the way back in 2015. And he actually had played well at the U.S. Open at Torrey. Now, keep in mind, that's also something you might want to look at. 2021 U.S. Open played at Torrey Pines. And then you see here the last 8 winners. So so these are the ones I really like. Instead of 13 out of 16, I'm like 100% last 8. So 100% last 8 winners registered a top 10 in their previous 5 events. So that's still rolling. And why not, right? So what we're looking for is appearances, want some experience. We also want some sort of positive experience. Doesn't have to be a lot of great experience, just something positive here. And also having some form coming in, which all makes sense when you're dealing with a tough course and a good field. And this is interesting. I mentioned this before. The average world ranking, 51st in the last 7 winners. And Justin Rose won here as a top-ranked player in the world back in 2019. Happened to be the last player to win here that was ranked in the top 10 as well. Okay, so interesting, right? Because you would go, wow, all those major winners. But yeah, that's why even though there's a lot of good trends to work on, excellent information to work on here, there is a lot of information that says, hey, just because you're a major winner doesn't necessarily mean you have to be ranked in the top 10 at the time. But I think it kind of balances out. I really do. Even though he's the only one since 2019, top 10, there's a lot of really good players out there that have not ranked in the top 10. Okay. Next up. Oh, you know what? I just remembered, because we're about to go into the players, but a couple more things. One is, I was talking about the tee times, early, late. A great example of that was Ludwig Oberg last year. I don't know if you recall, he gets off to this tremendous start. After the first round, he is 9 under par. And when you have a great player that has that kind of start, more often than not, that player is at the very least going to be like in the top 5 when it's all said and done. Probably going to win. Very least top 5. And what did Oberg do right after that? He ended up, what was he? He was, actually, yeah, I think his overall finishing score was 3 over par. He finished 42nd. All right. So Ludwig Oberg is a great example of what happened last year to him in the first round. Now, what does that mean? Not only are we looking at how important it is when we start the event and talk about handicapping with tee times, but it's also very important when we're talking about live wagering. All right, so this is what I like to use this for a lot, live wagering. And let's get into some. So where do winners come from at the Farmers? Well, 13 of the last 16 winners started outside the top 10 after the first round. And 9 of the last 16 started outside the top 20. So more than 50% of the last 16 winners started outside the top 20. Okay. Other starting spots in the last 16 who have won. Okay. So if your player is in one of these positions, don't go crazy. 63rd, 77th, 90, 96th, 113th. 113th after the first day and came back to win. Inglis started 19th last year. Okay, so he's right on the money on that average. Now, 12 of the last 16 were at least 4 shots back after round 1, including 7, 8, and 9 shots back during the last 16. English was 5 back. And Pavone, who won in 2024, 5 shots back. So the last 2 years, the winner of this event, 5 shots back after round 1. And you've only had 1 leader after the first round since 1987. That was Patrick Reed, the one that I mentioned to you, where he ran away from it in 2021. Okay, so after the first round, this is huge. You go right back to the drawing board. You take a look at all your notes, take a look at where players are and look at the odds and go for it. Go for value. So look, if let's say maybe you didn't even put some money on a certain player, but you were thinking about it, or it could even be that you're going to double down. Nothing wrong with doubling down. If all of a sudden, you put a player down and he gets off to a slow start, and you look at the odds the next day and you go, wow, look at those odds. Double down, why don't you? This is one of those weeks. This doesn't happen a lot. This is one of those weeks where doubling down is a good idea. And you know what's also a good idea this week? Even though it's hard to do it, but this is a really good week to just wait until after the first round to wager. Now, you got to enter your one and dones and fantasy and all that. But if you want to, maybe just to wager on who to win or who to finish in the top 10, that sort of thing, wait until after the first round. Doesn't happen a lot, but this is the week to do it. Okay. Now, how about this? After the second round, only 2 leaders have won since 2008. All right. So now you're looking at whatever, 15 years, over 15 years, just 2 have won after leading going into the weekend. 8 of the last 13 winners after the second round were at least 4 shots back, including 6 and 8 shots back. Okay. That's after 2. But 8 of the last 9 winners started inside the top 8, including 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4. Actually, that wasn't shots back, I don't think. No, I think that was okay. So 8 of the last 9 started inside the top 8. Yeah, first, second, third, and fourth. So, I want to make sure, is that shots back? I got to double check that. So anyway, fact of the matter is, I'll double check it. Even though after the second round, you can still come back a little bit. You don't want, what that's saying is you don't want to be far back. It's okay. I mean, hey, 4 shots back, 8 shots. I mean, 4 shots back, 6 shots back, 8 shots back. It can happen, but it's telling you now things are starting to even out a little bit more, but there's still hope. Now, after the third round, only 3 of the last 13 winners held the lead. Okay. And English was one of them. He had a 1-shot lead going into the final round last year. After the third round, only 4 leaders since 2008. So we're back to that 2008 number, which is 16 years, 17 years, might be 18 years, but only 4 since 2008 had the lead after the third round. And English had a 1-shot lead, as I mentioned. 6 of the last 11 winners were at least 3 shots back after round 3, including 5 shots back and 6 shots back. Okay, so even though it's getting a little bit more close to the top, over 50% of the last 11 winners were at least 3 shots back. 1 winner was 5 shots back, and when the other was 6 shots back. So this is definitely what you would call a come from behind golf course. All right. Now that that's out of the way, it is time to take a look at the players that we are going to go with. And the ones that we're going to snap to attention, first of all, would be the main group. And as I said, this is a much better field that we've seen so far. It's still not jam-packed with the top 10 players. There's only a couple. But we have a lot of talent here. And this is it. We're seeing Xander Schauffele for the first time. The last time we saw Xander Schauffele, and look, he happened to win. And he had not won an event since the 2024 Open Championship. But he won a fall event while you were paying attention to football. So keep that in mind that, yes, Xander broke that streak he was on, and that bad streak he was on for futility of winning. And he went out there and got that off his back, which probably makes him very dangerous this week. And it should. If you look at it, Xander in his last 5 appearances at this golf course, has a combined 29 under par. Right, that's whatever, about 7 under par average, which is very, very strong here. And that includes a couple top 10s and a runner-up. That was his best finish in 2021. He's never won here. Okay. And overall, like I said, it's one of those things where you do feel that, does that win for Xander get him going? Because he had the injury and you saw some signs, but then he gets the win. He's had some time off, though. He hasn't played since the win in October. Does he come out and just, on a golf course he's comfortable with, does he just go out there? He's got all sorts of confidence now, and he's going to have a big year. Well, we'll see. And again, you don't want to be taking him more than likely this week on one and done, because you would, especially if he has a huge year, you want to save him for a major event. And he did play at the U.S. Open in 2021, finishing 7th. All right, so that's a really strong finish there. So yeah, Xander Schauffele, definitely a solid pick this week, just like Scotty Scheffler last week. These guys are, especially Scheffler. I mean, what are you going to do, right? Schauffele is clearly the cream of the crop this week. But look, you're not getting 3-1 like Scheffler. You are getting 14-1. Is a respectable number. But we mentioned before, this is not the type of golf course that necessarily says, hey, top 10s, man, they eat it up. So it's up to you. If you want to go down that road, it is still a low number. You have to look at it one way or another. 14-1. It's not bad comparing it to Scotty Scheffler, of course, but generally 14-1. There's not a lot of value there. Okay. Then the others, Oberg, look, this is something that I have always put into my handicapping on any event, especially one-on-one deals. When a player is injured, ill, whatever the case may be, that sort of thing, I stay from him 100% of the time. And by staying away from it 100% of the time, I don't know, have I gotten beat once, twice out of a couple of hundred? And I think that's just the way I've been doing it, and I'm always going to do it, especially in professional golf, where this happens more than any other sport, because you have so much talent to compete with that even when you're healthy, it's tough to know whether or not you're going to win on a particular week. Now you're coming off an illness from the week before, and it's too much for me. And I just rather not. Look, do we know he could win? Of course he could. I just told you what he did last year in the first round. And he played here, what was it, the year before? 9 under par, 9th. So he's had good rounds here. He's going to win here. There's no doubt in my mind he'll win here. But I can't take him this week. And last week, before the illness, he had a 68, 67 start. So he started fine. It looked like he was going to be a contender. And if you wipe out the illness with that 68, 67, that probably would have been his 9th straight top 25. So he's in a nice zone there. Okay. But he doesn't have a win during that time either. Is he back to being the player that we know how good he can be? No. Okay. He hasn't reached that yet. And here's another thing to consider when we're going over, especially the players that don't have a lot of value to them. Xander Schauffele, who I've just mentioned, 9 appearances, just 1 top 5, just 2 top 10s, never won. Oberg, just 2 appearances now. So we don't want to see just 2, but all right, it's Oberg, 2 appearances, just 1 top 10. Okay, so that I think is important to throw out there again, because we're looking for players with value, and when you're seeing the players with short prices and you're going, okay, so I got a 14-1 shot. He's the lowest priced on the board. He's got 1 top 5 and 9 appearances at the golf course. See what I'm saying? So that's the way you got to look at it sometimes. Cameron Young. Now we're starting to get a little bit better odds, but I still think there's no value here for Cam Young. I really like Cam Young. He's one of my favorite young players. No pun intended. I'm really happy the way that he ended last season. He finally got the win, and he ended the year with 8 top 15s in his final 11. 5 of those were top 5s. He got the win at the Wyndham, and in his last 6 events, an average of 6.6. And that includes the last event we've seen him play, the Hero, when he finished in 10th. So Young was 20th here in his last appearance 4 years ago, 10 on the par. So that's a good score after missing the cut the year prior. But I'm just not getting any value here at 20-1 from a player who's only won once in his career. Next up, Patrick Cantlay. This has not been a good golf course for Patrick Cantlay. I don't see why I would pick him this week. In his 4 appearances, his best finish is 51st. And he's missed the cut twice. Okay, so yeah, I just don't think this is the week for Patrick Cantlay. Or at least this is not the week for me to take Patrick Cantlay. JJ Spawn, same thing. He's only had 3 top 25s in 9 appearances. 1 top 10. That was a 9th way back in 2017, which happened to be the very first time he played the golf course. The last 3 years he's played here, he's a combined 7 over par with 2 missed cuts. And then the last player on the list is the player that I am going to go with because, hey, what do I got? I have value. I finally have a player with value here because I'm getting 30-1 with Hideki. I'm getting double the money over Xander Schauffele. And Matsuyama, if you look at Schauffele, let's see. Yeah, if you look at Schauffele, it's not like he had like an incredible run or anything like that, culminating with the win. Again, he was playing better, but it was just, not like one of these wow runs. Well, Matsuyama, he's going through a wow run. And he's had 16 straight cuts. He's got, these are worldwide. 6 of those are top 20s, 2 top 5s, and then he's coming off the win at the Hero. Actually, that was the last event of the year. He won the Hero. Then he plays at the Sony, finishes 13th. Okay, so he's great run right now. I think he's an excellent idea. If you're not really sure Hideki's going to be a player that's going to break out this year. Well, let's say, because I don't think there's no doubt in my mind that Hideki still has a breakout year again in him. He was a great player just a couple of years ago, and I just think he's going to be a great player again. At least we know he's a really good player. But what I'm saying is he's got a maybe player of the year in him. And if you think that's possible, then you're not picking him this week in one and done. But if you're just like, yeah, I like Hideki, I think it's a really good player, I'm not sure if I'm going to take him, then yeah, maybe he's an option at one and done. So overall here, this is the other thing that works against him, is he's played here 12 times. He only has 5 top 20s and just 2 top 10s and 1 top 5. So kind of similar to Xander Schauffele in a way. I'm getting double the money. I think that's important. And he's made 9 straight cuts at this golf course. So combined 9 straight cuts at the golf course, 16 straight cuts overall. Leads you to believe that the way his game is going, that he should be somewhere in contention going into the weekend. And as far as some of the similar courses, he did win the Genesis in 2024 and the Century last year. Okay. Another thing I think I need to definitely throw in there, and that's the stats that we're using. What are the model stats we're using? Okay, so these are the ones that I think are the most important. So we're going to be, really, if you look at it, this particular golf course is a course that is designed for hitters that hit the ball long and straight. So if you are not, there's not a lot of them, but if you have power to your game and accuracy, and some sort of accuracy with your power, that type of game is really an advantage at this golf course. So we're definitely looking at those. Also, what we're looking for is, because again, this is a very long setup at Torrey. It's the longest course setup on the PGA Tour. And we're talking about the South Course. South Course, again, we're talking about 7,700 yards. North Course is just over 7,200. But the South Course will be played on 3 days. Also, you're dealing with a lot of thick rough. All right, so you want to be taking a look at players that are doing a halfway decent job lately getting out of the rough, that sort of deal. What kind of players are they? Scrambling? Yeah, you can throw that in there if you like. I don't necessarily, but again, I'm more about just the rough, because you come off the tee, are you in the rough? And that's going to be big, because if you're in the rough, you're going to get penalized. All right. But if you're really good at the rough, then maybe you could limit some of those penalties. And that's important. Greens and regulation, very important here. Total driving, very important here. Very important. Driving. And also putting. Now, it's interesting because a lot of times you would think, well, some of those stats you're talking about just seem like it should be the case in every golf course, but it just accentuates that here. And the same thing with par 5 scoring. You really have to end up, if you're going to win this event, you need to be somewhere like close to double digits on the par and par 5s this week. And there's going to be a lot of players that are going to go double digits at the par 5s this week and are not going to sniff the top 10. But it's sort of like one of those things where it's like you have to take advantage of it. So being good on these par 5s, it's just an extra bonus, because you don't want to be poor on par 5s. Let's just put it that way. If you're statistically speaking, par 5 scoring is low, and that's probably not good. So I'd keep and I just want to make sure that players that I have are on their game with the par 5, because that's where you're making up the score. No question about it. And as far as the long iron game, 150 and up, and definitely 200 and up. You want to look at long iron game. Very important here. That's something also to keep in mind. And I told you again just before how fast these greens are. So if you can check out stats on that, you want to do it. Okay. Let's move on to top contenders. And here they are. We've got what is this? About a 10 group here, I believe it is. So let's go with, Goddard's got to be up here, just because it's possible that we're looking at a player that has kind of come from nowhere, that is going to end up in this area here. He's 17th in the world. So is it a fluke? I'm not so sure. Not the way that he's played. This hasn't been just a couple of months, and he just came off a win at the Sony. But that's also a reason why I can't take him, because I don't think he's that player. And in other words, I mean, to win his third event in the last 6 months, that's a lot. And do it 2 in a row. It works against you, statistically speaking. But we'll definitely be looking at Chris Goddard up again real soon. Jason Day, in my mind, this week, again, this is just me, I think he's the easiest pick of the week. Okay. After what he did last week, throw in the fact he's won this event twice, and throw in the fact that statistically speaking, there's a lot to like about his game. Okay. He's really starting to look like maybe Jason's back, but that only will happen when it translates to results on the course. And yeah, it was nice to get a runner-up at the Amex, but that's the Amex. This is going to tell us a lot. Not just if he wins, but if he has a strong week this week, that's going to tell us a lot on whether or not Jason Day is back. Because I'll tell you right now, if he has a bad week this week, and which can happen at this golf course, then then I don't know what to tell you. But I said it last week. I think Jason's going to break out this year. I think Jason and Ricky Fowler, at least one of them, if not both of them, are going to get wins and are going to get back some of their respectability to their game. And while it was nice for both of them to play well last week, this is really going to be the big test for Jason. But that's the thing that kind of scares me the most, because he's one and done material, no question about it. But you do have to keep in mind, if he has a really great year and you use him for one and done this week and he finishes 8th, you might go, okay, that's okay. I'll take that. But if he has a really good year, you're going to go, oh man, I could have saved him for one of the big ones. So it's a tough one, but I think he's a great candidate this week for sure. 50% of his appearances here are in top 20 out of 16. 7 of those are top 10s. 5 of those are top 5s. And he's got the 2 wins, but he hasn't won here since 2018. He's trending in the right direction, which is a really good sign. His tee to green game is number 1 on tour right now. Very small sample size, but still it does signify that maybe Jason is onto something. All right. Also, on this list, you have to go down to here, where you see another one of my picks, Keegan Bradley. And this is about value, 100% value. Matter of fact, looking at this list, these 3 players right here are my picks: Bradley, Clark, and Scott. And they're all 45-1. Bradley, I think, has the best value of this group. I think Bradley should have been, I was expecting him to be somewhere around 35-1. You're getting 45, and that's why I'm jumping on him. He's got 12 out of 14 cuts. 8 of those are top 25s, 3 top 5s and a runner-up. And very important, couple of things. One, his driving game is excellent right now. Also very good on the par 5s, so that's a nice mix. And this is the one that put me over the top. His most recent win happened to be at the Travelers. And we went over that. This Travelers was the only POA course on the East Coast. And he got it done that week. And that's important for Keegan, because we all know Keegan is not the greatest putter in the world. But the fact that he won, and his putting game had to help him out, the fact that he won on this surface, similar surface, means something to me. And I think this is a really good setup for him. I think just, again, not a surprise looking at his overall statistics here in his career, because pretty much the one thing that's missing is just a win. Other than that, he's been really solid here. So I like the 45-1. He started the week, actually, I think on Monday when I first started. Early Monday when I first started doing my research, he started off at 30-1. Okay. Harris English is on this list. He's defending champ, but I'm not taking, Harris English to go back to back. I'm just not going to do it. But Harris has had 19 straight cuts. So, Harris. And just to show you how strange his win was last year. In 12 appearances, he had 3 top 15s. And he had that runner-up I talked about in 2015, which was a loss. And I think it was a 4-man playoff. He lost to Jason Day. Before last year, in his 5 previous appearances at this golf course, Harris English was a combined 16 over par. And he was 75th in the world. Okay, so that, again, is a sign that, as I said before, there's a lot of different types of players that can win here. I think what was important to Harris, though, was he had that runner-up appearance to go on. He had that strong appearance at the U.S. Open to go on. He had some positive history at the golf course. So even though it wasn't recent, he knew how to win or he knew how to play well here. And that was a big reason that he was able to win last year. Okay, moving on. Let's go to, who else do we have on this list? Let's go to Taylor Pendrith, because Taylor Pendrith, there's a few players. There was a lot to choose from this week. But Taylor Pendrith was, I came that close to taking Pendrith. And there's 2 players that I came this close to taking. Pendrith was one of them. If you look at it, Taylor Pendrith has the best scoring average, 23rd, with at least 4 appearances here. So the best. Nobody has a better scoring average here than Taylor Pendrith with at least 4 appearances. That's all he has is 4. But in 3 of them, top 20s. And in the last 2 years, he's finished 7th and 9th. 3 under par last year. It was tough last year, and 9 under par in 2024. The thing that bothers me the most, that even though he plays well here, I just don't know if he can win here. I don't know if this is the type of course, because he's not exactly the best putter historically, but he's been putting well. He's got a power to his game, of course. That's important. But he's the putting has been fine, even though, again, this is important, it hasn't been the case on POA. Okay, so that's the thing that was another question for me, was not going great on this surface. And is this the type of golf course that Taylor Pendrith can win? But I still was willing to go for it. I came close to doing it, just couldn't do it. But I like him this week. Definitely want to put some money on him. Jake Knapp is not on this list, but he's another player that you might want to keep an eye on. He's somebody that has some decent stats going for him. Okay, Adam Scott. So again, on my list at 45-1. And interesting, but Adam Scott's only played here twice. Okay, but I'm going to forgive that because he's a major winner. And he's also won Genesis. He's had good success on the West Coast before, including here. He was second in his first appearance in 2019 when he went 19 under par. Now, obviously, the scoring was ripe that week for whatever reason. Then his next appearance was a couple of years later in 2021, and he finished 7 under par and finished in 10th. So he had the 2 good appearances. And then you take a look at his driving, which has been fantastic. His driving has been really good. And that's important. Well, I mean, his iron game has been fine as well, but the driving has really been the thing that's been strong for him lately. And he's playing pretty good golf. Ended the year with a couple of top 10s overseas, and started off with a 40th and a 24th so he's heading in the right direction. So yeah, Adam, he came close to getting that win at the U.S. Open last year, and I think he's jonesing for another win right now. And I think this might be a good week to take him. And then you have Wyndham Clark. So Wyndham, he was a late bloomer to me to make this one, but that's what it takes. We only have a couple of days to figure these things out. It's not like football where you like or you don't like, and then you get to the end of the week and all of a sudden you've got more information, you have time to think about it, and then your mind changes a little bit, and then all of a sudden. But Wyndham, it happened to me a little bit quicker. But yeah, and I think the thing that really worked against him for me initially was his experience here. It doesn't have a lot of great experience here. He has in 3 of his 5 appearances, they're top 40s, but nothing better than 32nd. So his scoring and all that, nothing's great here, even though he has made 4 to 5 cuts. But what's important with Wyndham is his history at other places where he's won. He's got the same type of results when he won at Pebble, okay, a similar golf course to this one. He didn't have a great history at Pebble. Boom, went out, had a great week at Pebble. And you can say the same thing at Wells Fargo, at that win. Okay, so this is fine. He's not a player that needs to have really good experience at a place that he wins, just the way Wyndham is. Now, what I like is 8th at Hero, 13th at Amex, back-to-back solid results. The driving is very good right now for Wyndham. He's got the win at Pebble, as I mentioned. He was also 5th at Houston last year, so that's good. And yeah, is this a little bit of a roll of the dice with Wyndham? It always is. At least it has been the last couple of years with the way his game has been. And I'm going to roll with it this week. I think it's a good week to just roll with Wyndham because at 45-1, he could end up being a bargain. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, remember when he was on top of his game, even if he slid a little for a month or two and things weren't going great, he was still at 25-1 or 30-1. But Wyndham's one of those players now, for the most part, historically over his career, that his number, this has pretty much been it for Wyndham. He hangs around with these really valued type numbers because he's never been a very consistent player. And that's why it's very hard to take Wyndham Clark to win events because of that inconsistency. But I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice and see if I can get lucky this week. All right. Also on this list, look, Siwoo Kim, we talked about it last week. The guy is dialed up right now, as good as he's been in a long time. And then, I mean, now what is he? He's where is he? He's down to 37th, just 30-1. So there's not much value there at 30-1. The thing that continues to slow him down at these events, at every event he plays at, is his putter. It just lets him down time in and time out. He's got 9 straight top 25s, 4 top 10s, 6th last week at the Amex, 3 top 5s. Matter of fact, in his last 4 events, 6th, 11th, 3rd, and 4th. So everything's looking good for Siwoo. Driving's good. Irons are very good. But the putting, no good. No good. Not even on POA. It doesn't matter. No good. So, and the thing that really just knocked it out for me, because I'm willing to just take him because all you have to do is have a good weekend or a good week. You know, anybody can have a good roll on with the putter. But the thing that just prevented me from even considering him this week is in 11, in 8 events at this golf course, he's never had a top 10. The best he had was 11th back in 2022. And that's just too much for me. Also, let's see, in this group, Will Zalatoris. Yeah, this is, again, getting back to value. There are a few players. Zalatoris is one of them, and Gerard is the other. So these numbers, it's too low. I mean, Zalatoris, we're talking about somebody that was 70, 80, 100-1 not too long ago. Now, he had a nice little run at the end of last year, which was nice. He starts the year nice with an 18th at the Amex. Nice start. He has not had a top 10 since the Masters of 2024. Top 10. Almost 2 years. And you're giving me 40-1? This is also look. Are we forgetting that the reason Will Zalatoris hasn't had a top 10 since the Masters in 2024 is because of his health, because of his back? The one thing that we knew at the time when he came back was, will he ever be the player he was? And there's a real distinct possibility that he never will. That's how serious the injury was. Now, to some players, that's going to be fine. He'll have a nice career. He'll win a few times. Okay. But he was so good early on before the injury that it's not what you want to hear. We all hope that he can be that player again. But until he starts showing me he can be that guy again, can I get a top 10 first? Look at that. He's 211th in the world for a reason. So absolutely no value. Look, I'll say this. This is the perfect type of player I'm talking about when I mentioned before about the way you want to wager, live wagering this week. He's the perfect example. If he ends up with he's in 60th or 80th place. And all of a sudden now I'm getting 80-1, 100-1. Where he should have been anyway in the first place, I will take him. Because that's the only reason I'm not considering him this week is the value. Would I look at him as a long shot player? Absolutely. But I'm not. There's no value at 40-1, none whatsoever. So that is a player I would consider if he has a really good, a really slow Thursday. The other player, Gerard. We mentioned it last week, and then what does he do? But he goes out there and he gets another second place finish. So this is now 3 straight second place finishes for Ryan Gerard. How about that? 3 straight. That's very rare. So then the question lies, what do you do? Well, I'm not getting a good number though. He's 35-1. It's like if it's like if you like horse racing and a horse went out there and he was 50-1 and he won. And he came out there the next race and he was 25-1 and he won. And then, and you haven't even seen him in those 2 weeks, even possibly, let's say. But then all of a sudden, you're there for his next race. And now he's 5-1. Well, you're looking and you're going, okay, well, it's nice that he won it all, but he won because he's a long shot and he was, and those weren't necessarily even top competition. Now he's better competition and I got no value here. So, and I didn't take 25-1. I didn't take 50-1. So why would I take 5-1? And that's kind of the way I feel about Gerard. If I was somebody that took him when he won, because he won in 2024, he won the Barracuda. If I took him then, I take him now. If I took him then, or let's say I took him when he was second a couple weeks ago, and then I took him again last week, and I got back-to-back runner-ups, I'm taking him again. So there are certain people that should definitely take him, but I can't take him. I cannot take Ryan Gerard at 35-1. This is the second time he's played here. He's only played here twice, once, and it was a good finish, 15th. Okay, so there's a lot to like. What's not to like about Ryan Gerard except the odds? All right. And boy, there's a lot to like about his game too. I mean, everything is smoking for him right now. Let's go to the long shots. And we have 14 of them. Okay. Let me let's see where we are here. Make sure I didn't miss. Here's a couple other players I didn't have a list to keep in mind. The reason that I did not put him on this list, the limited experience. Rasmus Højgaard, first appearance. I don't really want to go down that road, but I like the way Rasmus is playing. 7 top 25s in his last 9 wide. He's got a couple of runner-ups in that mix, including one on a PGA Tour event. So that's important. He was 44th last week. So keep an eye on Rasmus Højgaard. If he keeps this up, watch out. Thor Bjornsson, Michael, is another one to watch, but he missed the cut in his only appearance last year, missed the cut last week, but there's a lot to like about the kid, totally. But a player that is being a little bit short priced right now. 50-1, I believe he is. That's just, and again, he doesn't have a great, he hasn't played a lot at this golf course, so just not for me. Okay. Now I mentioned Pendrith, and I just missed taking Pendrith. The other player I just missed on taking, he's right here at 50-1. He's the lowest, second lowest ranked player, third lowest ranked player on this board, and that is Sam Stevens. Remember, we talked about him last week. I really liked him as one of those possible long shots. I forget what he was, 100-1 or something like that. And now all of a sudden, because of the way his game is played recently, he is now the 40th ranked player in the world. That's his best ever ranking. And remember, I mentioned Pendrith, the best average at this golf course for 4 appearances or more. Stevens is the best 3 appearances or more. His average is 19.3 here. He was second last year and 13th in 2023. So 7 under, 3 under, 4 under. Those are his 3 appearances here. That's all solid at this golf course. Coming up a 6th at the Amex, which is nice. 7th at the RSM, a few events before that. But 50-1 now. I liked him a lot better when I was getting a big number. This is a tough field, but I came close. I really did. I think he's a really solid play. We'll keep an eye on Sam Stevens, and we'll see what kind of a game he has too. Does he have the game to keep this rolling? We'll see, because that 40th just came out of nowhere. And On this list, we have another interesting player by the name of Max Homa. Remember I mentioned last week, big West Coast guy, all of that. And he went out last week and played well. His end result wasn't great, but he did have a top 30. So now in his last 5 appearances, he's made the cut in all of them, and they've all been top 40s. 3 of those are top 20s. So that kind of consistency is important. That means he's starting to get his game going again. That's very important. Now here's the problem. All of us, just sort of like Zalatoris. It's like, just like that, the odds just run away from us. Now he's 50-1. We've been getting these big numbers with Max in these big fields. Now, if he's in a fall event, we're getting similar or less odds, and that's okay. It's a fall event. That's the fields are different. But in a field like this, Max Homa at 50-1, just no value at all. You're talking about a player. Check this out. This is exactly Will Zalatoris. He has won top 5 since the 2024 Masters. Almost the same situation as Zalatoris. He was 9th in the world at that time. He's 144th now. So he's dropped from 9th to 144th, and you're giving me 50-1? Come on. I need more than that. He's got a win here back in 2023. He's got 4 top 20s in his last 6 appearances here. Again, West Coast, Max Homa, the peanut butter and jelly. We know that. And what's really exciting, too, about him this week is his driver. His driving, excellent right now. Excellent. So there's a lot to like. He actually won that Procore event twice. And he also has the win and a runner-up at Genesis, which has a great history at. But it's like they're telling me that this is the old – it's like – because if this was the old Max Homa, I don't know, what would he be? 20, 25-1, something like that. And I just 50-1. I mean, no, it's not enough. But he'll be like Zalatoris if I can get 75 to 100-1 going into Friday. I'm putting money on Max Homa. All right. Also on this list, Justin Rose, who just missed making it. Matter of fact, on one of my sports books, I got 75-1, jumped on it. But he's now 60-1. And this is definitely a value play. Justin has a win here back in 2019. Historically, he's played well on the West Coast. He's got the win at Pebble. Now, look, he's coming off the miscut at Amex. I'm sure that's a reason why he's 60-1. But check this out. Check this out. Max Homa is 144th in the world. He's 50-1. Justin Rose is the 10th ranked player in the world. He's 60-1. That's why I said at the very beginning of this report, value, very important this week. All right, and you're getting really good value with Justin Rose. Brooks Koepka, big story this week. And we'll see that number drop. The only reason it's 255 is because you don't get points over on Live. But Brooks back, that's great for the sport. But yeah, 50-1, it's kind of similar to me, like Max and Will. There's no value there. I mean, yeah, again, if Will and Max and Brooks, if they're all on top of their game, they're half that. I get it. But they're not there for a reason. So, I'm not going to just take them because I'm getting a little extra money. I mean, I've got to see something that tells me that I feel confident that whatever I put money down on, I can bring it back. And look, if there weren't a decent amount of other players that were around the same number as these guys, hey, sure, I would consider them. But look at all these other players here, just on this list right here. I mean, why wouldn't I take all these other players that are in better form or have better stats over the same period of time? Why wouldn't I do that? And a lot of it, too, is just name recognition. Brooks and Max, Homa and Zalatoris, these are star caliber players. You're losing value because they're star caliber players. That's all. Look, Brooks has never played well here. So 50-1 is ridiculous. He's missed the cut 3 times in 4 appearances. And he's back on the PGA Tour. You know how many questions he's taken this week? This is not the week to take Brooks. I'm sure it wasn't the week to take Harris English last year too. But it's golf. Like I said in the very beginning, it's about averages and value. And you're getting none of that with Brooks Koepka this week at all. Okay. Let's move on. Garrett Higgo. Now, I will say this. We haven't had like an official sort of predictions of certain players, player of the year, sleeper of the year, whatever. We haven't done that. I'm still going to try to put that together sometime soon. But Garrett Higgo is going to be one of the players that I am going to look at. And I'd be willing to put stock on Garrett Higgo as a future top 25 player. And he's I think he could do that this year. There's still a lot about his game that he needs to refine, but he's in a nice groove right now. He had an excellent end of the season. 6.6 average result in his last 5 last year. And that does not count the win that he had last year. Where? Punta Cana. Okay, so there's a lot to like about Garrett. The only thing, he hasn't had any sort of success here at this golf course. And I think that matters, as I said before. The other thing I like about Garrett, though, he's a very good putter. He was a very good putter last year, and that's really good when you're a power player. That's the thing that is really interesting about Garrett, is you got a player that can putt and hit the ball long. What a great combo. That's why if he just refines his game here and there, he could be fuck top 25. He could be a top 10 player in the world. So that's the tools he has. And he's also really smoking with greens and regulation too. So Garrett Higgo is a true long shot play this week. He didn't make my list. It's probably asking a little bit too much considering he hasn't had any success here before. And also because of that, I don't know whether or not 50-1 is a good number. I also don't know whether or not that's good value. Matt McCarty at 65-1 is the 34th ranked player in the world. So I think this is not bad. This is good value for McCarty because he's on a run of 8 straight cuts with 5 top 15s, 2 top 5s. He was runner-up last week at Amex. So Gerard, runner-up last week, is 35-1. McCarty, 65-1. And McCarty's on a run too. Matter of fact, McCarty's on a better run than Gerard. Obviously, Gerard's got the second. But I'm talking about his over like 8-9 appearances. He's been very consistent. He's got the top 5s, has the runner-up. Also has he had 4 wins in 2024, including his first PGA Tour win. So McCarty, good value here at 65-1. Next up here, we got Nikolai Højgaard, another Højgaard brother. And boy, this was a week that he was on the list. He was on the short list, didn't make it. Big reason there, only 1 appearance here. Second, though, in 2024. Also, second at Punta Cana in 2023. So I like that. And after really losing his game a bit last year, he came on late. So he's on a run now of 5 straight cuts, 4th last week at Dubai. He's got a 3rd place finish in there, a couple of the top 15s. One of them was a 14th at the Bay Current event at PGA. Don't worry about the fact that he was in Dubai last week. Monumental trip. Because when he finished 2nd in 2024, he was in Dubai and finished 7th. So, hey, if anything, he moved it up to 4th this year. Maybe that'll move him from 2nd to 1st. So I think Nikolai is a nice little long shot pick. I just worry about the 1 appearance. Patrick Rogers, definitely under consideration for a long shot pick. The problem, I'm getting no value. Again, what is Patrick Rogers in this field doing at 60-1? I just don't get it. He has never won a PGA Tour event. And this guy's been around for a long time. Or at least long enough. 60-1. I just don't get it. So I'll be looking at him like the others I talked about. A player will look at on Friday before they tee it off, or Thursday night. But there are good things to like about him. He's in a nice groove, even though just 44th last week. Before that, 3rd at Sony, 7th at the RSM. He has 3 top 10s here in his career, so that's nice. But in 10 events, he's missed the cut in 5 of them. So it's been hit or miss here for Patrick Rodgers. Last year, it was a miss. He made the cut, but was 6 over par. Finished 56th. But what you like about him, he's got 8 top 20s on the courses that are similar, the ones I was talking about on POA greens. So there's a good surface for Patrick Rodgers putting on POA greens. 31st at the U.S. Open, too. That's not bad. A lot to like about Patrick Rodgers as a long shot. There's just, in my opinion, not a lot to like about him at this number. And the same thing with my boy Pierce Hassan Kuti, who was my long shot pick last week. He didn't disappoint. He had a top 20 finish. He's had 2 top 20 finishes to start the year. He's going to win this year. I'm confident about that. He was 2nd at the ISCO, so he's got that going for him on a similar course. There's a lot to like about Pierce Hassan. The thing that just doesn't work out for me this week is he's only played here twice, and he missed the cut both times. A player that's not on the board here, and there's a few of them I want to go over. Akshay Bhatia has only played here once. He was 13th in 2024, 8 under par. So I think he's somebody to look at. He's starting to play better. He went through a bad run not too long ago. He's on that, he's coming back. And so I think Bhatia is somebody you want to be really looking at soon. He's got 5 top 30s in his last 7, including a top 10. A few others here. Let's see. Let's go. Oh, by the way, someone that's not on this list is Jordan Smith. Only his first appearance here, but he's on a nice run. 8 straight cuts. And he was 27th last week at the Amex. He's got some pretty decent stats right now. So just a player just to throw out there, a long shot. Okay, now here's our official long shot, and he's right there at 75-1, the 109th player in the world, Sahith Theegala. So what we like about Sahith this week, he's played here 4 times, so I like that. He also has 2 of his appearances, the first 2 appearances, he was both 9 under par, 4th and 25th, so I like that. He's also won the Pro Tour. He was runner-up at Travelers, and he was also runner-up at Century. So the similar courses are working really well for Sahith this week, and he's trending really well. He was 31st at Sony, 8th at Amex. This is a big week for Sahith. This is the week that's going to tell us, is he really back? Because he lost his game for a while. But look at him, he's 109th. So is he really back? We're going to find out this week. But here I'm getting the value now. I'm at 75-1. That's why I'm taking it. The putter is going well on these greens. He's actually done pretty well coming out of the rough as well lately. The driving has been solid too. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like about Sahith at this number. A couple other players who will be making their first appearance that are not on this list to keep an eye on. And this is some player I don't think we've talked about him before. It's Christopher Reitan. And Christopher Reitan is a Norwegian player who broke out last year. He went from 19th. He was 19th. He was actually 1,962nd in the world in 2022. Then he was 1,031st in the world in 2023, 425th in the world in 2024, and last year all the way up to 31st. 31st. He had 2 wins on the DP World Tour. So he's now 39th in the world, and he's playing it for the first time. But look, I just want to mention him. He's 100-1. That's his area. It's where he should be. I don't expect him to win this week, but he's a player that just keep an eye on. Hao Tung Lee. We've been riding Lee now. We like what we're seeing. He keeps playing well. He's now made 7 straight cuts, 3 top 10s in his last 4, 8th at the Amex last week. He's got that good power to accurate combo, which we all like, and we talked about at the Open. The driver's good. There's a lot to like about Hao Tung, but He hasn't played here before. That's just a no-no for me. But another player that is getting close, no doubt about it. Let's now go with Billy Horschel. Billy is at 150 to 1, so we're getting really good value there with Billy. Look, Billy isn't the player he was just a few years ago, but he's still playing, competitive golf. He comes out of nowhere sometimes every few months, and all of a sudden you see him competing for a win, whether it's here or over in Europe. He's got the win at Punta Cana, so that's good. He's been hit or miss here, but just a couple of years ago, he was 11th at 12 under par. Matter of fact, in his last 5 appearances here, 2 of them resulted in a 12 under par and a 13 under par week. So that means that he knows he can score low here if he needs to. And you're talking about a player that in his last 4 appearances, 3 of them are top 30s, 2 top 15s, and major, because I'm not even talking about him if he's 50 to 1 or even 70 to 1, but at 150 to 1, I think he's definitely one of those long shots to consider. Another player that's not on this list that you need to keep an eye on is John Kiefer. John Kiefer has got a really bright future. He'll be making his first appearance here. He's already the 51st player in the world. He was the combo KFT Rookie of the Year and Player of the Year. Only 2 players have ever done that before Kiefer did it. And those players are Sung Jae Im in 2018 and Scotty Scheffler in 2019. That's how rare it is to accomplish that feat on the KFT Tour. That's the type of player Kiefer is. He has 3 pro wins. He's got the 2 on the KFT Tour. And this is somebody that's only started playing professionally in 2024. Okay, so this is a pup. If you look at it recently, he's had some okay finishes. 27th at the Amex. He has a top 10 a few starts ago, which is nice. The stats are good, but he's only making his first appearance here. So Kiefer, and who was the other one we just talked about? Kiefer and Wrighton. Those are a couple players that we wanted to throw out there that you want to keep an eye on. And you'll be sure we'll be talking about them. Moving on. Tom Hoge. Yes, Tom Hoge is a major long shot value player here at 200 to 1. He has played here a total of 8 times, and he has just 2 top 15s, but he has a 5th place finish in 2020. He's won Pebble Beach, his only PGA win, which is a really good sign. And he has 6 other top 15s on similar courses. These are good setups for Tom Hoge. And more importantly, not only are you getting 200 to 1, but you got a player that is who is in a really bad way. I mean, Tom Hoge was missing cuts left and right, but all of a sudden this year, 40th at Sony, 8th at Amex. What it's saying is Tom Hoge's on the West Coast back again. And when he gets into this kind of groove, at this number, you want to pay attention. Also, he's been statistically doing well in some of the areas, including his iron game and his putter. So I think Tom Hoge is a really good value long shot play. Next up, one of the players on this list, one that is not. Aldrich Potgieter. Aldrich Potgieter at 135 to 1. I actually came this close to taking him as my long shot, my super long shot. The South African he's been a pro for 6 years. He has a win on the PGA Tour. That happened. When did it happen? I forget when that happened, but I think it was last year, if not 2024, but it happened recently. Anyway, what's really appealing about this kid is he's got power and accuracy better than anybody else on tour right now. So that's what makes him a dangerous player this week. He came off a miscut at the Amex, though, so that's definitely not what you want. But he was 9th before that at the Alfred Dunhill over in Europe. His driving is elite right now. He's obviously elite on the par 5s. So there's a lot to like about his game here. And what really did it for me was, even though he only played here once, 15th last year at 1 under par. That's a good sign that this golf course is really made for him. And at 135 to 1, not a bad idea. Now, here's another player. S.H. Kim. He's not on this board here, but S.H. Kim, another player that I wanted to throw out there so we can make him familiar to the audience here. Sun Yu Kim. That's his name. That's his real name, Sun Yu Kim. That's, again, that's basically from what I've been told, that's how he pronounces his name. But when you look at his performance this year, you'd go, well, why am I even talking about Sun Yu Kim for at 175 to 1? He missed the cut last year at 7 over par. He was 50th before that. Yeah, he has one top 20. That's all. But the thing that's interesting about this kid, he's been and look, he's not really even a kid anymore. He turned pro 10 years ago. And he has 4 pro wins. He's been top 200 the last 4 years. So he's been one of those players. But what I like about him is he's now 146th, and he's a win away from cracking the top 100. And I think he could get that win this year. If you look at him worldwide, he has 7 straight cuts at 5 different tours. We're talking the KFT Tour, the PGA Tour, the Asian Tour, the Korean Tour, and the Japanese Tour. He was 18th last week at the Amex, 13th the week before that at Sony. So back-to-back top 20s to start the year on the PGA Tour. And that's why, even though, look, he's got 3 appearances here, so at least he's got that compared to some of the others who's never played here. But definitely a player that you want to be keeping an eye on. And somebody, maybe he's a good top 10 player because he's got such a big number. Top 10 wouldn't be a bad idea for Sun Yu Kim. And there's one more. By the way, Andrew Putnam, the putting has been really good for Putnam. And yeah, okay, we don't want to go down that road. But he had a really good week last week. The thing with Putnam is he's one of those players that I don't really see a whole lot of consistency in his game. But, again, he's got some stats going for him. He had the good result last week, and he's a big number. So I just figured I'd throw that out there just to throw it out there. Smotherman's another guy who was 11th a couple of years ago here, coming off at 8th at the Amex with 3 KFT wins. And I think there's one more thing I want to get to before the picks, and that is sort of like every once in a while I want to mention players that are not trending well, but you might want to keep an eye on them. In other words, and 2 players that fit that bill this week: Beau Hossler and Taylor Moore. Beau Hossler is not going through a good time right now. He went from 79th in the world at this time last year to 143rd. That's for a reason. He's not played well. Matter of fact, he's had 2 missed cuts this year on the PGA Tour. So nothing's really happening. But I bring him up because this has been a good golf course for him. He's got 3 top 15s, 2 top 10s. Last 2 years, he was 15th and 6th. And he was 2nd at the Travelers, 3rd at Pebble in his career. So this has been a good setup for him. And that's why there are just sometimes players, horses for courses, is really what we're talking about here, that I want to throw out there every once in a while. And Beau's one of them. He's got a big price at 175 to 1. The other one is Taylor Moore. I'm really surprised that Taylor Moore has struggled so much. He's a more talented player than this. So maybe he'll get going. But he's another player that's been struggling. He was 77th at this time last year. He's now at 180th. That's how poorly he's played. But he's had, he has 1 top 15 here, so he's got that. But there's some really nice stats for Taylor Moore. And that's the reason why I'm surprised he's played this poorly. I mean, he's got the good power to accuracy thing going. The driving has been elite. But yuck, has the putter been off? I mean, yes, the putter's been off. There's been other things that have been off, but there are some positive signs because he's a talented player. So do I think either one of these guys will break through this week? I don't know. Maybe not, probably not, based on the way that their form is going. But that's why I wanted to throw them out there as players that I would never take based on their form. But I just figured I'd throw them out there because almost every week in the PGA Tour, players like that with no form end up with top 10s. And that's going to wrap that part of our show up. Now let's close it up with our official picks, and we've got six of them here. And there they are. All right. So I mentioned them all as we went along. Jason Day is going to be our top play. And there you go. There you have it. Matsuyama, Bradley, Clark, Scott, and Thigala. A few things that I like here about these players, specifically based on our trends. You have a few majors here: Day, Matsuyama, Bradley. 5 of them, have been major players. You also have, I think, tee time set up nicely for most of them based on what we spoke about before. So that's good. So I just, this is what the direction we're going to go. Now, as far as one and done, Day is going to be interesting. I've got the 2 I mentioned. So probably going to take Day in one of them, because even though I think Day is going to have a nice year, the last few years, 1 win in 7 years, that says no. And if that continues, then hey, maybe I get lucky. I get a win this week, and that's the only win he has. So I think Day is an excellent one and done choice this week. With my second one and done, I won't be taking. I mean, Bradley I could take, because I don't know if Bradley's one of those players that you necessarily have to have for a big event. He's one of those that you might want to have, but he's a close one. So I could say the same thing about Clark, Scott. So I would probably, out of my second one and done here, I mean, I think Adam Scott may not be a bad choice. He might not be bad. I can't go with Thigala right now. I think that's too risky. And again, as we said in the open, most people believe when you're doing one and dones, you want to stick at least somewhere between your top 60 and top 70 players worldwide. So right now, we're not getting that with Sahith. So in this group, Day is a sure thing. I probably want to hold on to Clark, because I think he has a better chance of making a run even than Jason Day, and being a player that I want to have in a big event. Adam, at his age, that would be a lot riskier. I don't know if I could take Adam, because I don't think Adam Scott, I'm kind of surprised if Adam had one of those years where all of a sudden, where is he ranked right now, Adam? Adam is ranked, what do I have? 67th in the world, which is surprisingly not good for Adam. But that's the point, is do I think Adam Scott has the ability at this stage of his career to end the year in the top 20? Doubtful. I'd love to see it. I think it'd be great, but I just don't think so that's going to happen. So therefore, he's probably the best idea here for that second one and done. See if I see anybody else here just off the top that I think would be, if you want to take a risk, be a little bit riskier. You've got players like Pendrith, Stevens. I don't know what you think about Justin. I think Justin has to be considered for a big event. Let's see. I wonder whether or not the Masters would be a good week for Justin Rose. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, Gerard, do you want to roll down that road with Gerard? I mean, he is a top 40 player, top 30 player. So he's in the mix. A player that's got 3 straight runner-ups is a player you might want to consider for one and done. So that's it. Those are the players that I would consider. So right off the bat, Day is definitely going to be one of my one and dones this week. Right now, I'd have to favor Adam Scott as the other, just barely. And that'll wrap it up for our report here on the Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines as our season of golf really gets going. As far as the rest of our coverage this week, Jim Feist is taking the week off. We will not see him tomorrow at the restaurant. Nobody will be there at the restaurant. So the next football show will be on Thursday. So we're back at the Playbook ATS podcast with Mark Lawrence, and Andy Isco and I will also be there. We have a lot to talk about: the AFC Championship games, coaching, and other things. So hopefully we'll start talking some college basketball too. I will be back talking college basketball on Friday. Friday night. I'll have to think about that because my schedule might be a little bit different this Friday, but I will try my hardest to do a report on Friday night. I've been doing that the last few weeks to let you know what's going on for Saturday's college basketball. We had our NASCAR show kicking off the season earlier today. Next week, we do our Daytona 500 preview. The week after that, we do our season preview, where we're going to go over our predictions on the season, championship predictions, things like that. So that's NASCAR. Horse racing is back again on Thursday at 4:00 Eastern as we talk about a couple of events at Gulfstream Park, including the Holy Bull Stakes. So that's get us on a roll here with horse racing again. And then don't forget our football coverage. Tomorrow, we're back talking Detroit Lions. That is going to be, I believe, a 4:00 start Eastern time. And then on Thursday, that's a busy day. So we have the Playbook show for football, hopefully basketball. And then we have our horse racing show at 4:00. And then in the evening, we're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins. So we have an 8:30 show. Jason Sarney will join me and we'll talk. There's a lot to talk about with the Miami Dolphins, new direction they're going in this offseason. So a lot to know about the Dolphins. We'll talk about them on Thursday. And then on Friday, again, we'll hopefully at some point, and I'm pretty sure I'll do it, just at some point, probably late on Friday, we'll get in some college basketball talk. Hopefully, if I can maybe get it done earlier, that would be great, so I don't have to put it together late. And that's going to be the rest of our week right here on Proline TV, and that'll wrap it up. Oh, one more. That's right. I completely forgot. Just speaking about the Our Lads Football Network. Speaking about football, tomorrow at, I think it's, let me see, do we have that exact time? I think it's going to be somewhere between 11 and 12. We're going to have a start, and it's going to be our first mock draft special. So we've got our top two scouts over at Our Lads, Dave Syvertson and John Cooper, and they've already put together their first mock draft. You can check it out right now at ourlads.com. And so I'll be hosting the show. And we'll be talking about the entire first round, their initial projection picks that you can get right now at ourlads.com. I'm going to go through that tomorrow. Again, either 11 or 12 o'clock start time. So, and that's just the beginning. That's the very beginning. Now, we kind of already started with our football team previews, which is all about the offseason, free agency, and the draft. When we talk with our Lad scouts, that really kicks us into gear for the draft. And we're going to have tons of draft coverage. The East-West, I believe, was tonight. This is Senior Bowl week. So, again, that's why people think that things kind of end when the football season ends, even though we only have one game left. It doesn't. There's tons of content that we have here, and it's busier at this time of year on the Our Lads Football Network and here at Proline. Busier at this time of year for football than it is during the season. So that's why you want to be here. Check us out, subscribe, like, and share, all that fun stuff. And I didn't even get a chance to do this. I figured out a reason. Hey there, kiddo. Sorry I left you behind. That shows you how busy I was. Oh, and one more. I've got a comment here from DMC just before we close out. So here's DMC's picks. I love it. We got some picks. Let's get the picks going, everybody. DMC's got Day. What did I tell you? I told you Day's a hot pick this week. So that's the thing I'm worried about. Anytime a player is hot, matter of fact, that's a rule at one and done that you really have to consider, which is why if I had one and done and not two, I may not take Jason Day this week because one of the rules that you should consider, it's not 100%, but one of the rules you should consider at one and done is that there are always going to be, not always, but every few weeks, there's going to be a player. Like, let's say that you're really not sure, you don't have an exact player you're thinking about. And then you start thinking about which direction to go. And you see that there's like, who's the hot player? Who's the player that everybody's talking about? Stay away from that player, or think about staying away from that player. And the reason you want to think about staying away from that player is because on average, if a lot of people like a certain player, it's golf. Anything can happen in golf. So the averages say that, well, that player ain't gonna win. It's just the averages say he won't. So if a lot of your competition in the one and done contest goes with the hot player, just stay away from him. Just bet that he won't win. And maybe what you do is you put some money on him on the side and hedge your bet in case he does win. But for one and done, maybe you just stay away from him. And this way, if he doesn't win, a lot of your competition lost, and you still have. Oh, I thought I went out there for a second. Anyway, so, but besides that, I mentioned before Jake Knapp. So I definitely think he's somebody to keep in mind. As I said before, there's some good things to like about Jake Knapp that I did not go into. So that's a good pick there from DMC, and everything else looks good. So glad to get that, and hopefully I'll get more. The more picks, the better, and the more comments and anything else that you guys want to add to the program would be really appreciated. That's what gets us going here. The algorithms really pick up with comments and questions overall. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of golf. I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of golf that even if you ask me about, I might not even be able to answer unless it was handicapping related. It's such a difficult sport to cover. But I also think it's a sport that, because there's not a whole lot of content out there, I think if you do a good job and you put a lot of good information out there, then I think it's that's why I like to do this. I would have done this even if I didn't do a show, but the difference is half of the time, I should say, right? Yeah, probably half of the time that I put into it is just for the show, because there's a lot I have to upload and prepare for the show. But I would be doing a lot of this because, again, it's important when you're doing the one and dones. You can make a lot of money doing that, and that's the reason. It's not just for fun. It's and it's also not, like I said, that's why it's kind of cool. You can decide, hey, I'll do it. If I stay away from a player on one and done, well, I'm just going to make sure I got some money on that guy. So if I wind up losing on that, I don't lose. So yeah, it's a fun sport to make money on, but you have to do a lot of research. It's not easy, especially nowadays. It was a lot easier 10, 15 years ago. I mean, it was. But nowadays, there's so much competition out there. There's so much volatility, which is why these handicapping tools, the more the better, and the more you can throw at the dartboard. And average everything out. That's why it's an average game. Like, I haven't won yet, obviously, the first 2 weeks based on my picks. But so far, all of my picks have just been okay. I mean, I haven't missed any cuts, and I think that's great. And they've all been kind of in the top 35, which is okay. It's only the first couple of weeks. You can go like 5 weeks to begin one and done and not have a problem. That's the good thing about golf. You can start doing nothing, and all of a sudden, boom, you hit a winner, and you can go from, I don't know, if you're in a 5,000 entry contest and you're 2,000 for 5 weeks, you win an event, you're like in the top 100, maybe even better than that. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to go be at this every week. And also remember, very important, it's not always for one and done. It's not always about winning. It's about, when you don't win, just try to gobble up as much consolation points as you can. So when you do win, you're in a much better position. And that's the way you also have to think every week about one and done, is about top fives, top tens. I have to be consistent. That's why when I'm talking about players like Matsuyama, that's why I think Matsuyama is probably a better option than Jason Day in one and done. But Matsuyama has a better pedigree that you want to save him. That's the conundrum there. But Matsuyama is a much safer play right now for one and done, because he's so hot without missing a cut, 9 straight cuts at the event, 16 straight cuts worldwide. That's the type of player you want to go with. But it's a little too early to take Matsuyama. All right, I'm just rambling on. I could talk about this forever. Again, thanks for tuning in once again. We're back tomorrow, 4 o'clock. That's our next show. That's when I interview Jeff Risdon as we talk Detroit Lions right here on Proline TV. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.